Good morning everyone. My report this morning is about financial budget of the library. So, according to ALA, managing a budget and handling basic financial literacy can be daunting and overwhelming, but the ability to do is crucial for librarians. So, first is what is budget? So, budget is an estimation or probable income and expenditure for the ensuing year. So, in other words, it may be described as a statement or revenue and expenditure for a given period, usually 1 year. So, they have many sources of budget in library. So, first is the library fees, second is the library fines, third is the donations, fourth is the fundraising activities, fifth is the contributions, and they have many. So in library budget, they have a objective. First is to present a statement of estimated revenues and expenditures for a given period. Second is to serve as a plan for the effective coordination of resources. Third is to present details regarding the services that are to be given at the future. Next is to serve as a basis financial control, and then to serve as a device for evaluating results, and then to serve as a tool for the financial management, and to form the basis for the formation of a future policy. So, they have factors to be considered in budgeting. First is the types of a library. So, we know first the types of a library. If it is a academic, public, special, and school. So next is the size of the library. Next is the types of users and numbers of users. Next is the document collection. Then next is the programs and performance of different sections of library. So in budgeting, they have a techniques. First is the line item. Next is the lump sum. Then the formula budget, the performance budgeting, and the program budgeting. So, in line item, this is the common type of budget. The books, periodicals, and other reading materials, the equipment, binding, lighting, water and telephone, and the miscellaneous. And then the lump sum, in this approach, a certain amount of money allocated to the library. So, next is the formula budget. So, the formula budget is a mechanical and easy to prepare. No skills are necessary and administers formula budget. So, here are predetermined standards reapplied for allocation of money. So, next is the performance budgeting. It bases expenditures on the performance of activities and emphasizes efficiency of operations. So, it describes in detail the resources required to accomplish the proposal and extent program to be achieved during the next fiscal year. And then the program budgeting, here we are concerned with activities of organization but individual item or expenditures are ignored. So the amounts are allocated the programmers of service rendered. And then in program budget, they have two types. The Planning Programming Budget System or the PPBS or the Zero-Based Budgeting or ZBB. In PPBS, they have important steps. First is to identify the objectives, and then in presenting alternative ways to achieve those objectives with cost-benefit ratio, and identifying the result that corrective action can be taken. So by the way, PPBS is a technique which combination the best of the programming budget and performance budget. So many complex organizations, including some libraries, are using PPBS or some kind of its modification form. Next is the ZBB. ZBB, it was developed by Peter Pure to achieve greater effective planning and fiscal control. The term zero is derived from the first steps up to prices the development of a hierarchy or function based on the assumption that the unit or agency is starting operations for the first time, the point zero. So basically, it is not concerned with what happened previously, but rather with what's so required to be done in future. So, of course, they have budget allocation. So in university library, according to Ranganathan, the annual recurring expenditures of a university library should be follows. So from the expenditure of reading materials, they have 40%. So from the staff salary, they have 50%. From other expenditures such those on provident, and then the fund contribution, binding, and others contingencies, they have 10%. So in college library, expenditures on reading materials, they have 36%. So staff salary 50%, binding 4%, others 10%. In public library, according to Ranganathan, the annual recurring expenditure on public library system will be from the salary, they have 50%, cost of reading materials, binding, and other expenses says 50%. In special library, expenditure on reading materials 35%, staff salary 50%, equipment 9%, and other expenditure including binding, distribution of documentation list, and etc., they have 6%. So in the conclusion of my report, the budgeting process is a continuous one. It involves many persons at different levels in the library. The form of presentation and method of approval budget will be deciding factors regarding the degree of power of decision. So making given to the librarian regarding use of funds granted to the library. And by studying various forms of budgeting, one would be able to learn about their strengths and weaknesses.